Hey everybody, Jason here. RPG A Day 2019, day number 26. I believe this is my third or fourth video that I've recorded for the day, so you can still see my Funko Star Wars Rogue One shirt that I've been wearing in all my videos. This will probably be my last recorded film or recorded video for the day of this topic, so hopefully you won't have to see any more of the same video. But day number 26, the word prompt is idea. So where do you guys and girls get your ideas from for your games that you play, that you write, that you GM or DM or whatever it is that you do? Like, where do you get your ideas and inspiration from? I know a lot of people say that you can get ideas from anywhere and you can rip things off because nothing's original anymore. A lot of times, if I do a lot of writing, but I don't GM games, so I'm in a weird spot in that way where I have plans for games I would love to write and GM and play and things like that after I'm done being a player in our current campaign. And I'm kind of scatterbrained and everything's chaos, and I'm working on more projects than I will ever be able to finish. But it's hard for me to get ideas for games and adventures and stuff. I feel like if I'm not being or trying as hard as I can to be 100% original in my ideas, that I'm a fraud, or I'm a ripoff, or I'm a con artist or something, or that I feel guilt out of taking things out of pre-existing properties and changing them into a D&D game or something like that. Whereas in reality, that's probably the smartest thing to do, because very little is original these days. Take something that exists and put your own original spin on it, maybe, if you want. But it doesn't have to be original. And I think that's one of the many flaws that I have as an artist, especially when it comes to writing, because I'm not a very good writer, I don't think. Maybe if I have a subject matter and background and things like, if I'm given something and pointed in a direction, I can write it okay, but to come up with original ideas on my own is hard for me to do because I'm so critical and everything, and it's hard for me to see stuff like that. That is a huge dog, oh my God. I don't know if that was a Great Dane or what, but that dog was huge. Almost as tall as the lady that was walking it. That was crazy. Sorry. So anyway, it's hard for me to find inspiration and ideas in a lot of places. And I find that a lot of times my ideas are more mechanical than they are story-wise, I guess you would say. It's much easier for me to think up new and interesting mechanics for games than it is story ideas. That being said, just because I can think of a lot of mechanical ideas for things doesn't mean that mathematically they're all correct. And that they work properly and function properly in game. But I'm working on a couple of things, and I've been working on a couple of things for a while now. And it seems like every time I get partway through a project, another idea pops into my head for another genre or system I could create. And I'm sort of in the mode of genre emulation right now, which I think Spectrum Games does a really good job of. I've got an idea for a horror-based game in my head, kind of like Slasher Flick that they made. Totally different mechanics than Slasher Flick. I've got an idea. I've had ideas for martial arts games, for wrestling games, and things like that. And I think mechanically, they all have had their own sort of version of mechanics and stuff that differentiate them from each other. Meaning that the mechanics emulate the genre better than a generic system that's made for every genre. Like, you couldn't take the ideas I had for wrestling mechanics and port them into a modern day horror game or a modern day espionage game or a fantasy game or something like that. Whereas the same with the horror based slasher serial killer type game that I'm making, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Friday the 13th, that type of slasher genre. You couldn't take the rules for that. I don't think you could anyway. They're not done, because they're all still in the idea and writing phase. Nothing's been play tested out. But you couldn't take those things and put them into another genre, like say D&D style fantasy or a game like Vampire the Masquerade or something like that. You couldn't do other games with this because the mechanics are very specifically focused on the genre that it's being that it's made for, the idea that's in my head. So for me, ideas are hard, especially to flesh out. I'll get like the skeleton of an idea for a story or something, and then fleshing it out, all the meat and bones, is hard for me. Like I know like point A and maybe point M and point Z, and then all the points in between are just, it's hard for me to fill those in and make them interesting enough to where you would want to go through any of those other points, to figure out and finish the story up. So ideas for me are very hard. This video for me is a little bit like the Calamity video I just did, where that was a hard word for me. Which it shouldn't. Idea should not be a hard word for anybody really playing or role-playing games. But I'm going to end this here before I ramble for too long. But let me know what your ideas are for the word idea. How you like that? Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of RPG A Day 2019. Thanks for checking out my channel. I appreciate it. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.